Hey everyone, it is time for our Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. He joins me over the phone right now. And Kevin, the basketball team was pretty busy hosting several recruits that they're looking at. And we'll start things off talking about Kijani Wright, 5-star player, and got a lot of teams looking at him. What did he think about Arkansas?
You know, he had a really, he loved his visit. A source told me on Arkansas' side of things, from their perspective, that they couldn't have gone much better. But Kijani told me that he didn't, he's from L.A., Windward School in Los Angeles. He's a city guy. And he said that Arkansas exceeded his expectations, and what his preconceived notions were, Arkansas's coaching staff, what he saw on his visit, taking in practice both days that he could during his visit early in the week. Everything pointed to him that he could see himself as a Razorback and playing in Fayetteville. So I think it was a great visit for Kijani Wright, hearing both sides of it. And listen, you talked about it. He's a 5-star, top 10 player. We saw photos of Kijani, some of the photo shoot stuff that Eric Musselman likes to do. And honestly, the young man, it looks like he's ready to play at the pro level from a physical standpoint. But he's more than just a big guy. He's 6'9", around 230. He can play facing the basket. He's versatile. But he's the kind of guy that could really help Arkansas's program take another step. But what a great visit he had. And, he's already taken a couple of visits. He's got Kansas and Stanford, I believe, that he's going to take another visit to. But Arkansas is in his final 7. And I think we're going to see him make a decision likely before his senior season. That's what he told me.
Well, I was reading some of your articles, and you mentioned how this was a kind of California-themed visit weekend for players that were coming to check out the Razorbacks. And so that brings us to Ramel Lloyd Jr., 4-star. What can you tell us about him?
Well, he's a 6'6" combo guard. Arkansas has been recruiting him for well over a year. Played at Sierra Canyon this past season in a shortened season, but he's a guy that really, when you look at kind of his path, he had Arkansas in his final 8. Then he withdrew that final 8 and said he was reopening his recruitment, but he told me at the time, this was a few months ago, that he was still going to take a visit to Arkansas in June, and that Arkansas was still high on his priority list. Then he set a decision date for today, June 27th, which he backed off of. So he visited during the week. I think he's going to end up taking a visit to Oklahoma. He's already been to 3 other schools. When you look at Oregon, Georgetown, and then Nebraska right before he came to Arkansas. So he's been kind of all over the map on his decision-making. He said he really enjoyed the visit, that he felt like, this was a place that fit right in for him when he talked about Arkansas. So we'll see how it plays out. But anytime there's so much back and forth, it does bring some confusion and lack of closure. So we'll see what happens there with Ramel Lloyd, but a talented player. I said he's a 6'6" combo guard, so he's versatile in the fact that he can play the 1, 2, or 3. Eric Musselman likes players that can play multiple positions on the offensive end and defend the same way on the other side of the ball.
Well, Jordan Walsh is a 4-star. He was also on campus, and technically he's from Texas, but he's playing his next season in California. Can you explain what's going on with that?
Yeah, he's at Southern California Academy for his senior season. He just finished a big showing. He had a really good Pangos All-American camp. 105 of the top players in the country, spanning 3 or 4 different classes, and he really showed well out there. He's 6'7", very versatile. Got a really nice shot from beyond the arc. Has length, very bouncy, so he can finish above the rim. Another guy that you plug and play with Eric Musselman, play that 3-4 combo with a lot of skill, really, for a guy like that you really want to see. If you're Eric Musselman in Fayetteville, because, again, when you look at what he's done in the transfer portal, now if you can dip in the high school level and bring in players that are similar to what you're getting out of the transfer portal, it's hard to prepare for Arkansas. It creates matchup problems when you have that kind of versatility. Jordan Walsh is just another guy, another top 50 recruit. So it was a big week for the Razorbacks when you start talking about these guys all being so highly rated.
Well, the last guy we want to talk about today is Zobi Ejim, and I was reading one of your articles that you wrote about him, and he said that Arkansas is just at a different level. So that must have meant that his visit went really well.
It really did. He was on an unofficial visit. The previous 3 we talked about were on official visits, and he's been on an unofficial visit tour. He had stops at Kansas and Oklahoma before he got into Arkansas. Next week he's going to have a stop at Texas. Week before last, it was TCU. But he loved it. He compared, basically, he said that Arkansas was at a different level, and that was a comparison to the other places he'd been. And he was talking about practice, how organized it was, how intense it was, the energy level, just everything about it. He said it really opened his eyes, and it was motivating to him. So what he's going to do, it's kind of interesting, he may only take 1 or 2 official visits. He's going to go, supposedly, the plan now is he's going to take that unofficial visit early in the week to Texas. Then he and his dad are going to sit down and figure out if he's going to take 1 or 2 official visits. And they might have a decision as soon as the end of the first week or somewhere in the second week of July. So a decision from Zobi, 6'8" forward out of Garland, Texas, another top 30, 35 rated player. Here's a big, strong guy. I mean, he's an interior player, big frame, cleans the glass, finishes around the basket, tough to handle in transition. So another player that really likes Arkansas. So it couldn't have gone better, I don't think, for the Razorbacks and the coaching staff this week.
Well, now the coaching staff is hitting the recruiting trail. Any idea where they're heading out to first?
Ooh, well, they got out, that this was the second live evaluation period of June as it's about to wrap up. And so there were several events around the country, but only a few were sanctioned for coaches to attend. And you had Arkansas's 3 assistants out and about. You had Gus Argenal in Dallas-Fort Worth for the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches team camps. Mm-hmm. So it's a live eval period, and he was able to see Anthony Black, class of 2022, really a chart climber. I mean, this young man's kind of, you always see the late bloomers. He's ranked in the top 75 right now. I think he's going to end up being a 5-star and a chance to play in the McDonald's All-American game. Duke just offered him, but Arkansas offered him not so long ago, but Arsenal got to watch him play throughout the weekend, as well as Keon Williams, a Jonesboro native, who's now playing in Mansfield, Texas. He got to see him, as did Keith Smart, came down in the middle of the weekend to DFW. Now, Clay Moser attended 2 events, one in Arizona, one in Chicago, and he was looking at guys that have already been on Arkansas's radar with offers. JoJo Hunter, a 6'4" guard out of California that he got to see play out in Arizona. And then in Chicago, he got to see Aiden Shaw, a 6'8" combo forward out of Kansas. That's also a national top. Both of those young men, Hunter and Shaw, are top 50 nationally ranked in that 2022 class. But Shaw will take an official visit to Arkansas. It's scheduled for August 6th through the 8th.
Well, great information there, as always. Kevin McPherson, thanks so much for your time. That's going to wrap it up, though, for our Hog Hoops report.